When we think of strength, we often picture loud voices, forceful actions, and bold statements. In our society, we have been conditioned to equate strength with outward displays of power and confidence. However, true strength is not always loud. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. Silence, when embraced and used with wisdom, is not a sign of weakness. It is a reflection of inner strength, a mastery over oneself that many fail to understand. In moments of provocation, it is easy to react with anger, to speak out of frustration, or to defend ourselves hastily. The desire to immediately respond and make our point known can feel overwhelming. But strength lies not in the need to react, but in the ability to pause, to step back, and to control one's emotions and impulses. Silence in these moments is not about being passive or submitting to others. It is about having the strength to choose not to engage, knowing that not every situation demands your voice. In fact, silence requires a far greater degree of self-control than speaking does. It takes maturity to know when not to speak, especially when we know we could easily win an argument or assert ourselves in a situation. To remain silent in the face of insult, to hold your tongue when your opinion is not asked for, and to let go of the urge to correct every misunderstanding, this is a demonstration of inner strength. It reveals a person who is grounded, composed, and confident enough in themselves to understand that their worth is not determined by their ability to speak or be heard. Moreover, silence often speaks louder than words ever could. In a heated exchange, where emotions run high and words are thrown around carelessly, silence can be a powerful statement in itself. Your refusal to be drawn into an argument shows that you are not rattled by the distractions of the moment. It shows that you are confident enough in your beliefs and values that you do not need to shout to be heard. You allow your presence, your calm demeanor, and your actions to speak for you. A person who chooses silence when provoked demonstrates emotional maturity. They know that words spoken in anger or haste often do more harm than good. Instead of contributing to the noise, they understand that the best course of action is sometimes to say nothing at all. This ability to stay composed, even when the world around you is demanding a reaction, is not weakness, it is an indication of profound strength and wisdom. The strongest leaders often know when to remain silent. They understand that leadership is not about dominating every conversation or always being the loudest voice in the room. Leadership is about influencing others through your example, your actions, and your ability to discern the right moment to speak or remain quiet. A wise leader knows that not every situation demands a response, and sometimes silence is the most powerful response you can offer. In the face of adversity, silence can also serve as a form of protection. When you choose not to engage in the chaos, when you refrain from reacting to criticism or negativity, you protect your peace and your energy. Silence creates a barrier between you and the distractions that could derail your focus. It allows you to preserve your emotional strength and to avoid being drawn into battles that are not yours to fight. True strength comes from within, and silence is one of the ways we can tap into that internal power. It requires the courage to resist the urge to react, to speak, or to defend. Instead, we choose to remain calm, composed, and confident in who we are. In a world that values noise and constant action, choosing silence is an act of defiance, a statement that we do not need to prove ourselves through words. Our strength lies in our ability to remain silent when everything around us demands a response. Silence is not the absence of strength, it is the presence of control. It is a sign of wisdom, discernment, and self-respect. It is in silence that we discover the true depth of our strength. There are moments in life when the absence of words speaks louder than any proclamation, louder than any argument, and louder than any declaration of intent. Silence in these moments is not just the absence of sound, it is a powerful force that conveys meaning far beyond what words can express. The beauty of silence lies in its ability to communicate without speaking. It can reveal emotions, thoughts, and intentions in ways that words often fail to capture. Think about a conversation where the silence between words is as telling as what is said. Sometimes what is not spoken carries far more weight than what is uttered aloud. In times of tension, conflict, or uncertainty, the pause between words can speak volumes about your feelings, your resolve, and your understanding. A simple silence can say, I do not agree, I am hurt, I am thinking, or even I am no longer interested in this conversation. These messages are conveyed without a single word being spoken, yet they are deeply understood. Silence can also be a tool of restraint. There are times when saying nothing is more powerful than saying something. In moments where a response would only escalate the situation, or where words could cause more harm than good, silence offers an alternative. It is not passive. Rather, it is an active choice to not engage in a way that could worsen the circumstance. This kind of silence is a statement in itself. It communicates strength, maturity, and wisdom. It conveys the idea that you are in control, that you understand that not every moment needs to be filled with noise. Consider how silence operates in the context of relationships. The silence of a partner who does not lash out in anger, or a friend who does not overreact, can often communicate a deep sense of respect and understanding. In these moments, silence is a way of saying, I understand you, I am giving you space, or I am here for you. Even when words are not needed, silence can create an atmosphere of trust, where people feel safe to express their thoughts and emotions without fear of judgment or interruption. It allows individuals to process, reflect, and respond thoughtfully, rather than reacting impulsively or out of frustration. In some cases, silence speaks of boundaries. It tells others that you have reached your limit, that you are no longer willing to engage in certain conversations or behaviors. This kind of silence is not an invitation to be ignored. It is a clear statement of self-respect and self-awareness. It communicates that you are no longer willing to accept negativity, disrespect, or manipulation. You don't need to shout it out. The absence of your words speaks louder than any declaration could. It communicates that you understand your worth and you will not allow yourself to be diminished. Furthermore, silence can be an expression of contemplation. In situations where a response is required, silence often precedes wisdom. When you are faced with a decision or a question, silence gives you the time and space to reflect and think through your response carefully. It is in the silence that clarity is often found. Silence allows you to observe without the interference of your own voice, to listen without the urge to immediately respond. In this pause, you gain the insight needed to make thoughtful and deliberate choices. There are also times when silence is used to create tension, to build anticipation, or to make a point. A well-timed silence can change the entire course of a conversation or negotiation. It makes the other party uneasy, compels them to think more deeply, or even forces them to fill the silence with words that reveal more than they intend. Silence can be a strategy, a deliberate choice to allow others to speak, to act, or to reveal themselves. It shifts the power dynamic in subtle ways, letting others take the initiative while you remain an observer, shaping the outcome from the background. In public speaking or storytelling, silence is an art form. A speaker who knows how to use silence at the right moments can captivate their audience in ways that words alone cannot. The strategic use of pauses creates emphasis, deepens meaning, and allows the audience to absorb the gravity of what has been said. Silence can create a space for reflection, for the audience to connect the dots, or for them to process the emotions being conveyed. It engages them on a deeper level, making the message resonate long after the words have been spoken. Moreover, silence can communicate compassion. In times of grief or sorrow, words often fall short. Sometimes the most comforting thing you can offer someone in pain is your silent presence. Sitting with someone in their silence can communicate your empathy, your understanding, and your support in ways that words never could. Silence in these moments is not empty, it is full of care, patience, and a willingness to share in the experience without imposing your own words or solutions. In the broader scope of life, silence is a tool of power. It's a weapon against the noise of the world, the chaos of daily life, and the distractions that pull us away from our true purpose. In a world that is constantly demanding our attention, our response, and our voice, silence can serve as a sanctuary. It is in these silent moments that we connect with our inner selves, with our higher purpose, and with the divine. Silence becomes a space where clarity is born, where our true direction emerges, and where we can hear the still small voice that leads us forward. Silence, therefore, is not passive. It is active, deliberate, and often the most potent form of communication available. It speaks volumes when words fail, when actions cannot express the depth of our thoughts or feelings. It is in the spaces between sound that we find some of the most profound expressions of who we are. In the rush of daily life, amid the constant flow of information, opinions, and distractions, it can become difficult to hear our own thoughts clearly. The noise of the world, whether internal or external, can cloud our judgment, distort our perspective, and leave us feeling overwhelmed. It is in these moments of noise and chaos that silence becomes a crucial tool for clarity. Silence has the remarkable ability to clear the mental fog, allowing us to see things more clearly, to think more deeply, and to make better decisions. When we silence the external noise, we create a space for reflection. In this space, we can pause and sift through our thoughts without the pressure of having to react immediately. Silence grants us the opportunity to evaluate a situation, to understand our own emotions, and to assess the circumstances surrounding us. Without the interference of external voices or demands, our inner voice becomes louder, clearer, and more prominent. we begin to hear the wisdom that lies within us, waiting for us to pay attention to it. This process of clarity is not just about quieting the external environment. It is also about quieting the mind. Our thoughts are constantly racing, pulling us in different directions. We are bombarded with what we should do, what others expect of us, and what society tells us is important. In this constant state of mental noise, we often lose sight of our true priorities, our true purpose. Silence allows us to step back from these distractions and find a place of stillness where we can reconnect with ourselves. It is in this stillness that we regain clarity and our purpose comes into sharper focus. In decision making, silence is particularly valuable. Often, we rush to make decisions out of fear, anxiety, or impatience. We believe that the longer we wait, the more we lose. Yet, rushing into decisions without giving ourselves the time to think can lead to mistakes, regret, and missed opportunities. Silence provides the necessary space to consider our options, to weigh the pros and cons, and to listen to our instincts. It allows us to make decisions not out of haste or pressure, but from a place of calm, clarity, and understanding. In moments of confusion or uncertainty, silence becomes a powerful tool for discernment. When we are unsure of the next step to take, silence offers us the opportunity to reflect deeply on the situation and what is truly at stake. Without the noise of other people's opinions, without the constant pull of external demands, we are able to hear the answers that lie within us. Clarity comes not from seeking more information or adding more voices to the mix, but from stripping away the excess and tuning into our own inner guidance. In silence, we are able to see situations from a new perspective, one that is not clouded by emotional reaction or external pressures. Moreover, silence brings clarity by fostering a sense of patience. In a world that demands immediate action, silence teaches us that some things are worth waiting for. It encourages us to take a step back, to breathe, and to observe the unfolding of events before making a move. This patience is not about inaction, but about conscious deliberation. When we embrace silence, we are not rushing to fill the moment with thoughts, words, or distractions. We are giving ourselves the time to observe, to think critically, and to respond thoughtfully. Silence also brings clarity by allowing us to reconnect with our intuition. In the noise of daily life, it is easy to ignore our inner wisdom. We often look to others for answers, seek external validation, or rely on the opinions of those around us. Yet true clarity comes from within. Silence provides the opportunity to listen to that still, small voice that guides us. In moments of quiet reflection, we can tap into our intuition and gain a deeper understanding of what we truly want, what we truly need, and what aligns with our deeper values and purpose. Additionally, silence helps us to process and integrate experiences. Life moves quickly, and often we don't take the time to reflect on the events that shape us. Without reflection, we risk repeating the same mistakes, making impulsive decisions, or failing to learn from our experiences. Silence creates the space for us to pause and process what has happened, to make sense of our emotions, and to integrate the lessons that can help us move forward with wisdom. It allows us to step outside of our emotions and see the bigger picture, gaining clarity on the deeper meaning of our experiences. In times of conflict, silence can be an invaluable tool for clarity. When we are engaged in a disagreement or a difficult conversation, emotions often run high, and the desire to be heard can overshadow the need for understanding. In these moments, silence allows us to step back from the heat of the moment, to collect our thoughts, and to respond in a manner that is thoughtful and measured. Rather than reacting impulsively, silence gives us the space to understand both our own position and the perspective of the other person. It enables us to respond with clarity rather than being swept up in the emotions of the situation. In the pursuit of personal growth, silence is essential for clarity. Growth requires introspection, self-awareness, and the ability to see ourselves clearly without the influence of others' opinions or societal expectations. Silence helps us to quiet the noise of the world and hear our own voice. It allows us to understand our strengths, weaknesses, desires, and fears. In silence, we can reflect on who we are, who we want to become, and what steps we need to take to align our actions with our true purpose. Ultimately, silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is the presence of clarity. It is the moment when we can hear our own thoughts, reflect on our purpose, and make decisions that align with our deepest values. In a world that often moves too quickly and values noise over reflection, silence is a precious gift, a space where clarity can be found, where wisdom can emerge, and where our true direction can be revealed. In a world that is filled with noise, chaos, and constant distractions, peace can often feel elusive. The demands of daily life, the pressures from work, relationships, and society can erode our sense of inner calm and serenity. But one of the most powerful tools we have to protect our peace is silence. Silence. Silence, in its truest form, is a refuge, a sanctuary where we can retreat from the noise of the world and reconnect with our deepest sense of tranquility. In the midst of conflict, stress, or confusion, silence becomes a protective barrier that shields us from the forces that threaten our peace. The first way that silence protects your peace is by creating a space for you to detach from the chaos around you. When we are constantly engaged with the noise of the world, whether it's through social media, conversations, or the constant hum of technology, we are constantly bombarded with information, opinions, and emotions that may not even be our own. This external noise creates a sense of overwhelm. And before long, we find ourselves reacting to every stimulus without ever truly processing or understanding what is happening inside us. Silence provides a space to step away from this bombardment, to disengage from the outside world, and to reconnect with our inner self. It offers us the opportunity to take a breath, to pause, and to restore our emotional balance. Silence also protects your peace by helping you avoid unnecessary conflict. In the heat of the moment, when emotions run high and words are spoken in anger, silence becomes a shield against escalation. We often feel compelled to respond to every provocation or challenge, believing that we must defend ourselves or make our point known. However, reacting impulsively often leads to regret, deeper misunderstandings, and more tension. Silence offers us the chance to pause before reacting, to assess the situation with clarity and objectivity. It allows us to control our response, ensuring that we do not give in to impulsive reactions that could disturb our peace. By choosing silence in moments of conflict, we protect ourselves from getting caught up in cycles of negativity and drama. In relationships, silence plays an essential role in preserving peace. There are times when we feel the urge to speak our mind, to correct misunderstandings, or to argue for our perspective. But not every situation requires a response. In many cases, silence can protect the harmony of a relationship. It allows us to listen fully to the other person's point of view without immediately countering or defending ourselves. Silence in these moments allows the other person to be heard, which can diffuse tension and foster understanding. It also allows us to reflect before speaking, ensuring that our words are thoughtful and measured rather than reactive and defensive. By embracing silence, we protect the peace in our relationships and create space for deeper connection and mutual respect. Silence is also a powerful tool in protecting our peace from the internal noise that often distracts us. Our thoughts can be loud, chaotic, and overwhelming. We constantly replay past events, worry about the future, or judge ourselves harshly. This inner noise can erode our sense of peace and create unnecessary stress. Silence provides a refuge from these swirling thoughts. It allows us to quiet the mind, to step back from the constant chatter, and to reconnect with the present moment. In silence, we can learn to observe our thoughts without getting caught up in them. We can create space for stillness and calm, allowing our minds to rest and rejuvenate. Furthermore, silence protects your peace by preventing you from absorbing the negativity of others. The world is filled with criticism, judgment, and pessimism. People often project their own fears, insecurities, and frustrations onto those around them. In these situations, silence acts as a shield, protecting you from the harmful influence of negativity. When we engage with every negative comment, criticism, or toxic conversation, we allow those energies to enter our space, disturbing our peace and well-being. Silence allows us to disengage from these toxic interactions. It prevents us from internalizing the negativity of others and enables us to maintain our peace by not reacting to every insult, complaint, or harsh opinion. By choosing silence in these moments, we retain our emotional equilibrium and protect our inner peace. In the fast-paced world we live in, silence also provides us with the necessary space to reflect and restore our energy. Constant activity, whether physical or mental, can drain us over time, leaving us exhausted and overwhelmed. Silence provides a moment of respite where we can recharge, regroup, and refocus. It allows us to check in with ourselves, to assess our emotional and mental state, and to realign with our purpose. Silence nurtures our well-being, giving us the opportunity to restore balance when life becomes too chaotic. In these moments of quiet, we are reminded of our strength, our peace, and our ability to face life with calm and clarity. One of the greatest gifts silence offers is the protection of our boundaries. In a world that constantly demands our attention and energy, silence allows us to assert our boundaries without saying a word. There are times when we need to say no, when we need to step away, and when we need to protect our emotional space. Silence gives us the power to do this without needing to justify ourselves or explain our decisions. By embracing silence, we communicate that we value our peace and are unwilling to let it be disturbed by external pressures. Silence helps us protect our boundaries, ensuring that we are not overwhelmed or drained by the demands of others. Lastly, silence protects your peace by fostering patience and acceptance. In a world that encourages quick reactions and constant motion, silence teaches us to be patient. It helps us to resist the urge to immediately solve every problem, fix every issue, or react to every challenge. Silence gives us the time and space to process, to reflect, and to wait for the right moment to act. It allows us to accept what is beyond our control and to focus our energy on what we can influence. In this way, silence cultivates a sense of peace that comes from acceptance and a deep understanding that not everything requires an immediate response. In all of these ways, silence is a guardian of peace. It creates space for reflection, protects us from conflict, shields us from negativity, and fosters patience and understanding. In a world that is constantly pulling us in different directions, silence is the one thing that can anchor us to our center, allowing us to maintain our peace amidst the storm. By embracing silence, we create a sanctuary where our peace can thrive, free from the chaos that threatens to disturb it. In a world that is constantly in motion, where voices compete for attention and actions speak louder than words, it is easy to get swept up in the hustle and bustle of life. We often find ourselves reacting to situations without fully understanding them, driven by impulses or external pressures. However, true insight and wisdom do not come from reacting to every situation. They come from the ability to step back, observe, and reflect. Silence is the gateway to this power of observation. When we embrace silence, we create the space to not only see more clearly, but also to understand more deeply. In the midst of noise and distraction, we may find ourselves overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information coming our way. The constant chatter of people, the distractions of technology, and the expectations of society can all cloud our ability to truly observe. Silence, however, allows us to clear away the clutter. It gives us the power to focus not just on what is happening around us, but on the subtleties that we might otherwise miss. When we stop speaking, we begin to listen with greater intent. When we stop reacting, we allow ourselves to take in the full picture of what is unfolding before us. In moments of silence, we become active participants in our environment, but in a quiet, deliberate way. We observe not just the surface level actions, but the underlying emotions, the unspoken words, and the subtle shifts that occur around us. This power to observe comes from being present, truly present in the moment. Silence invites us to remove ourselves from the distractions of the past and future, and to focus entirely on the here and now. This heightened awareness allows us to gather information from all angles and perspectives. We are no longer fixated on our own thoughts, opinions, or responses. Instead, we become attuned to the world around us, noticing things we might have missed if we were caught up in the noise. Silence also gives us the ability to observe others with greater empathy and understanding. In conversations, it's easy to become so focused on what we want to say that we fail to truly listen. We wait for our turn to speak, or we prepare our rebuttals instead of hearing what the other person is saying. Silence, however, allows us to listen without interruption. When we hold back our own words, we create space for others to express themselves freely. This silence enables us to not only hear the words they say, but also to observe their body language, their tone, and their energy. We can pick up on the things that are left unsaid, the subtle cues that reveal a deeper layer of meaning. Silence then becomes a tool for understanding people more fully, for seeing beneath the surface to the heart of their thoughts and emotions. In situations of conflict, silence can be particularly powerful. When tempers flare and emotions run high, the natural impulse is often to react, to defend, to argue, or to justify ourselves. However, in these moments, silence offers us the power to observe the situation more objectively. Instead of getting caught up in the emotional swirl, we can take a step back and view things with greater clarity. This silence allows us to observe the dynamics at play, to recognize the underlying issues, and to understand the other person's perspective. By not immediately responding, we give ourselves the time to process the information and choose a more thoughtful, measured response. Silence in conflict gives us the power to stay grounded and to see the bigger picture, rather than being swept away by our emotions or impulses. Silence also offers the ability to observe ourselves with greater clarity. In the hustle of everyday life, it's easy to get caught up in the noise of our own thoughts, opinions, and judgments. We may react impulsively, driven by unconscious beliefs or automatic patterns of behavior. But when we embrace silence, we create a space for introspection. We step back from the constant mental chatter and begin to observe our own thoughts and feelings from a place of detachment. This process of self-observation allows us to gain greater self-awareness, to understand our true desires and motivations, and to recognize patterns that may be hindering our growth. Silence, in this sense, becomes a mirror through which we can observe ourselves more clearly and with greater objectivity. Furthermore, silence allows us to observe the subtleties of life, the things that often go unnoticed in the rush of our daily routines. The sound of the wind in the trees, the quiet gestures of kindness from a stranger, or the soft expressions of love in a family. These are all elements of life that are easily overlooked when we are constantly preoccupied. Silence invites us to slow down and pay attention to the beauty that surrounds us. It helps us notice the small things that bring meaning and joy, reminding us that life is not just about the big moments, but about the subtle, everyday occurrences that shape our experiences. In a broader context, silence also gives us the power to observe the world around us with greater discernment. In today's world, we are bombarded with information, opinions, and news from all directions. It can be overwhelming, and we often find ourselves reacting to events without fully understanding them. Silence offers a counterbalance to this noise. It creates a space for us to pause, to reflect, and to consider the information before forming an opinion or taking action. In silence, we have the opportunity to process information critically, to observe trends, and to make decisions based on careful reflection rather than impulsive reactions. By practicing silence, we learn to filter out the distractions and focus on what truly matters. One of the most important aspects of silence is that it cultivates patience. In a world that prizes quick answers and instant gratification, silence teaches us to observe without the need for immediate results. It encourages us to wait, to see things unfold naturally, and to trust in the process. In silence, we learn to observe the unfolding of life with a sense of calm and assurance, knowing that not everything needs to be rushed or solved immediately. Silence teaches us to give space to the unknown, to allow time for things to reveal themselves, and to trust in our ability to see things clearly when the moment is right. Silence, therefore, is not merely the absence of sound, it is a tool of profound observation. It allows us to see more clearly, to understand more deeply, and to engage with the world in a way that is both thoughtful and intentional. By embracing silence, we gain the power to observe not only the world around us, but also our inner selves with greater clarity and insight. In the stillness, we find the space to reflect, to listen, and to understand, to see things as they truly are, without the distortion of noise or haste. In the realm of leadership, there is often an expectation that leaders must be vocal, decisive, and constantly present, always ready with answers, commands, or speeches. However, effective leadership is not always about speaking the loudest or being the most visible. In fact, some of the most impactful leaders are those who understand the power of silence. Silence, when used deliberately and with intention, can be one of the most powerful tools in a leader's arsenal. It allows leaders to observe, reflect, listen, and respond with greater wisdom and effectiveness. Through silence, leaders not only protect their own clarity and peace of mind, but also create an environment where others feel heard, valued, and empowered. One of the key ways in which silence facilitates effective leadership is through its ability to foster deep listening. Leaders who speak less and listen more create a culture of openness and trust. By taking the time to be silent and truly listen to their teams, leaders gain valuable insights into the needs, concerns, and ideas of those they lead. This active listening helps leaders make more informed decisions and demonstrates that they value the contributions of others. Silence, in this sense, becomes an act of respect that tells people that their voices matter and that their perspectives are worth hearing. When leaders listen more than they speak, they build stronger relationships with their teams and create a culture of collaboration and mutual respect. Silence also allows leaders to reflect before taking action. In the fast-paced world of leadership, it's easy to fall into the trap of reacting impulsively to situations, driven by the pressure to respond immediately. However, the most effective leaders understand that the best decisions often come from careful reflection. Silence provides a space for leaders to step back from the immediate demands of the moment and consider the broader picture. It allows leaders to assess all the information, weigh their options, and make decisions that align with their values and goals. This process of reflection, enabled by silence, ensures that decisions are made thoughtfully and with clarity, rather than hastily or without proper consideration. In times of crisis or uncertainty, silence is an especially powerful tool for leadership. When faced with challenges, leaders who speak too quickly or too much may unintentionally create confusion or add to the anxiety of their teams. Silence, on the other hand, provides the opportunity for leaders to gather their thoughts and approach the situation with a clear mind. It allows leaders to project calm and confidence, even in the most difficult circumstances. By embracing silence during moments of uncertainty, leaders can make more strategic decisions, communicate with greater precision, and offer guidance that is grounded in wisdom rather than panic or reaction. Silence, in this sense, becomes a tool for stabilizing both the leader's own mind and the morale of the team. Moreover, silence facilitates effective leadership by giving space for others to contribute and take ownership. In leadership, it is essential to empower others to share their thoughts, ideas, and feedback. Leaders who dominate conversations or make decisions without input from others often risk alienating their teams and stifling creativity. Silence allows leaders to step back and give others the chance to speak up. By holding their own thoughts and words back, leaders create an environment in which others feel comfortable sharing their ideas, knowing that their contributions will be valued. This not only strengthens the collective intelligence of the team, but also fosters a sense of ownership and accountability as team members become more invested in the outcomes of their work. In addition, silence cultivates patience, an essential quality in effective leadership. In today's world, where instant gratification is often expected, leaders who can practice patience through silence demonstrate a level of maturity and wisdom. Patience allows leaders to wait for the right timing and the right circumstances before making decisions or taking action. Silence creates the space for this patience to flourish, as it encourages leaders to pause, reflect, and observe before jumping into a solution. Leaders who are patient understand that not every challenge requires immediate action, and that sometimes the best way to lead is to allow time for the situation to unfold naturally. By practicing silence and patience, leaders can avoid rash decisions and respond in ways that are more thoughtful, strategic, and aligned with long-term goals. Silence also strengthens a leader's ability to maintain focus and clarity. Leaders are often pulled in many different directions with numerous tasks, demands, and distractions competing for their attention. In such a fast-paced environment, it's easy to lose focus or become overwhelmed. Silence offers leaders the opportunity to tune out distractions and focus their attention on what matters most. By intentionally creating moments of quiet, leaders can cut through the noise and regain their sense of purpose and direction. This ability to maintain focus, fueled by silence, enables leaders to steer their teams with greater clarity and purpose, even in the midst of turbulence. Another way in which silence facilitates leadership is by modeling emotional intelligence. Leaders who can remain silent in moments of emotional intensity demonstrate a high degree of self-control and emotional maturity. Rather than reacting impulsively or emotionally, these leaders take the time to pause and process their feelings before responding. This silence creates a space for leaders to regulate their emotions, ensuring that they do not act out of frustration, anger, or stress. By modeling this kind of emotional intelligence, leaders not only protect their own peace, but also set an example for their teams. They teach their teams that it is possible to remain calm, centered, and composed in the face of challenges, and that emotional reactions do not always serve the best interests of the team or the organization. In leadership, silence is not about withholding communication or disengaging from others. Rather, it is about creating the conditions for more meaningful, thoughtful, and effective communication. Leaders who know when to be silent demonstrate a deep understanding of the power of presence and the importance of giving others space to express themselves. By embracing silence, leaders can foster an environment of trust, collaboration, and growth where everyone feels heard and valued. Silence enables leaders to observe, reflect, listen, and respond in ways that are both thoughtful and strategic. It allows them to navigate complex situations with greater wisdom and make decisions that align with their vision and values. In conclusion, silence is not a weakness in leadership, but rather a strength, a tool that enhances the capacity to lead with wisdom, clarity, and empathy. Through silence, leaders gain the power to listen deeply, reflect thoughtfully, empower others, and maintain focus amidst the noise of the world. In moments of crisis or uncertainty, silence can be the very thing that allows a leader to think clearly and guide their team effectively. By incorporating silence into their leadership style, leaders create the space for themselves and their teams to thrive. In a world that is saturated with constant noise and information, it is often difficult to hear the still, quiet voice of wisdom. We are surrounded by voices, opinions, and messages that bombard our senses at every turn, whether through technology, media, or the demands of everyday life. In such an environment, the pursuit of true wisdom can feel elusive. However, one of the most powerful tools for cultivating wisdom is often overlooked: silence. Silence, when embraced and practiced intentionally, creates a space for reflection, contemplation, and insight. It provides the necessary stillness to connect with deeper truths and understand the complexities of life. Through silence, we tap into a reservoir of wisdom that cannot be found in the hustle and bustle of our fast-paced world. At its core, silence fosters wisdom because it allows us to step away from the noise of external influences. When we are constantly surrounded by distractions and the opinions of others, it becomes increasingly difficult to discern our own thoughts and feelings. Silence offers a reprieve from these external pressures, giving us the opportunity to listen to our inner voice and connect with our deepest insights. In the stillness, we can hear our own thoughts more clearly without the distortion of outside noise. This ability to quiet the external world allows us to cultivate an inner clarity that is essential for making wise decisions. Wisdom, after all, is not simply the accumulation of knowledge, but the ability to process and apply that knowledge in a thoughtful and discerning way. Silence gives us the space to do this, enabling us to reflect on our experiences and learn from them. Furthermore, silence fosters wisdom by encouraging introspection. It is in moments of quiet that we are able to look inward, to examine our own beliefs, values, and motivations. In the hustle of daily life, it is easy to react to situations without truly understanding the underlying reasons for our reactions. Silence creates an environment where we can pause, reflect, and analyze our thoughts and actions with honesty and openness. Through introspection, we gain greater self-awareness, which is a key component of wisdom. We begin to understand our own strengths and weaknesses, our fears and desires, and how these factors influence our decisions. This self-awareness allows us to act with greater intention, making choices that align with our authentic selves and that are guided by a deeper understanding of who we are. Silence also fosters wisdom by allowing us to process our emotions in a more mindful way. In a world that often values quick responses and instant gratification, it can be tempting to react impulsively to emotions such as anger, frustration, or fear. However, true wisdom lies in the ability to pause and process these emotions before reacting. Silence provides the necessary space to sit with our emotions, to understand them, and to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This process of emotional regulation is essential for making wise decisions, as it ensures that our actions are not driven by unchecked emotions, but are instead guided by clarity and discernment. Through silence, we learn to embrace our emotions without allowing them to control us, fostering emotional intelligence and ultimately wisdom. In addition to fostering self-awareness and emotional intelligence, silence also encourages a deeper connection with the world around us. When we are constantly talking, thinking, or reacting, we often miss the subtle messages that life is offering us. Silence allows us to observe more carefully, to see things as they truly are without the filter of our preconceptions or distractions. In moments of stillness, we become more attuned to the nuances of our environment, the body language of others, the unspoken cues, and the deeper patterns that shape the events of our lives. By quieting the mind and focusing our attention, we become better equipped to understand the complexities of the world, leading to greater insight and wisdom. It is in the moments of silence that we often find the answers to the questions we did not even know we were asking. Moreover, silence fosters wisdom by creating the space for learning. In the noise of our daily lives, we may be so focused on speaking, expressing our opinions, or seeking external validation that we fail to truly listen or learn. Silence, on the other hand, allows us to listen deeply not just to others, but also to our own thoughts and the lessons that life is trying to teach us. When we embrace silence, we open ourselves up to learning from the world around us. We become receptive to new ideas, new perspectives, and new experiences, which in turn expand our understanding and knowledge. The ability to learn is a key component of wisdom, and silence nurtures this ability by providing the space for deep listening and reflection. Through silence, we become more open-minded, curious, and adaptable, all of which contribute to the development of wisdom. In moments of silence, we also gain the ability to observe without judgment. Often our judgments cloud our ability to see things clearly. We may make snap judgments about people, situations, or ourselves without fully understanding the underlying complexities. Silence allows us to step back from our judgments and view things with greater objectivity. It helps us to see beyond the surface and to understand the deeper context of a situation. This ability to observe without judgment is an essential aspect of wisdom, as it allows us to respond with empathy and understanding rather than with preconceived notions or biases. In silence, we learn to embrace the complexities of life and to navigate them with greater discernment and grace. Silence also nurtures wisdom by encouraging patience. In a world that values speed and efficiency, it is easy to become impatient with the process of learning and growth. We may feel the pressure to have all the answers immediately or to act quickly in the face of challenges. However, true wisdom requires patience, the patience to wait for the right moment, the right insight, or the right decision. Silence helps us to cultivate this patience by encouraging us to slow down and trust in the process. In moments of quiet reflection, we learn that not every question needs to be answered immediately, and that some of the most valuable insights come with time. Silence, therefore, fosters the patience required for wisdom to unfold. Lastly, silence fosters wisdom by allowing us to connect with something greater than ourselves. In our noisy, fast-paced lives, it is easy to become consumed by our own concerns, ambitions, and desires. Silence creates the space for us to step out of this narrow focus and connect with the larger, more profound aspects of life, whether that be nature, spirituality, or the universal truths that bind us all together. In silence, we gain perspective on the bigger picture and are reminded of our place in the world. This connection to something greater than ourselves is a vital aspect of wisdom, as it enables us to approach life with humility, gratitude, and a sense of purpose. Silence opens the door to deeper understanding and spiritual growth, which are fundamental to the development of wisdom. In conclusion, silence is not just the absence of noise, it is a fertile ground in which wisdom can grow. Through silence, we gain clarity, insight, and understanding both of ourselves and the world around us. Silence allows us to reflect, process, observe, learn, and connect with something greater than ourselves. In a world that is constantly pulling us in different directions, silence is the anchor that keeps us grounded, centered, and wise. By embracing silence, we create the conditions for wisdom to flourish, guiding our decisions, actions, and interactions with others. In our fast-paced, noisy world, it can often feel as though we are constantly on the move, rushing from one task to another, reacting to the demands of life without ever taking a moment to pause. In this whirlwind of activity, we may forget the power of stillness, of quiet, of giving ourselves the opportunity to step back and allow something greater than ourselves to intervene. Silence in its deepest form is not just the absence of noise, but the intentional act of creating space where divine presence, guidance, and transformation can move freely. When we speak of silence creating space for God to move, we are acknowledging the sacred power of stillness in our spiritual lives. The Bible tells us that God speaks in a still small voice, 1 Kings 19:12. And this is a profound truth that many overlook in the noise of their daily existence. We often expect God's presence to be dramatic or loud, but the reality is that it is in the quiet moments, the spaces of silence, that we are most able to hear His voice. When we choose to quiet our minds and hearts, we are creating an environment in which God's influence can permeate our lives. Silence allows us to tune into the divine whispers that guide, correct, comfort, and inspire us. Silence allows us to let go of our constant need to control everything around us. In the hustle of life, we often find ourselves trying to manage our circumstances, fix problems, or hurry through decisions, all the while struggling to hear God's guidance in the midst of it. Silence, however, teaches us to release our grip on the wheel and allow God to take control. It is in these moments of surrender, when we stop striving, that we open ourselves up to receive divine wisdom, to trust in God's timing, and to recognize His presence in every situation. The quiet spaces created by silence are an invitation for God to take the lead, to move in ways we cannot foresee, and to work in the unseen realms of our lives. In silence, we also make room for reflection and introspection. It is often in the busyness of life that we overlook the things that truly matter: our relationship with God, our inner peace, and our purpose. When we stop and embrace silence, we give ourselves the gift of reflection, allowing God to reveal deeper truths to us. In the stillness, God can speak to our hearts, reminding us of who we are, who He has created us to be, and the path He desires us to follow. Silence creates a space where we can revisit our faith, reconnect with God's promises, and realign ourselves with His will. Moreover, silence is a crucial space for receiving divine healing and restoration. Life stresses, wounds, and disappointments can accumulate, leaving us feeling burdened and weary. In the midst of life's noise, it can be difficult to address these deeper issues or to allow God's healing touch to work in our hearts. Silence provides the necessary space for God to bring healing to our brokenness, to restore our peace, and to renew our spirits. When we are still, we allow God to address the deepest parts of our being, to heal wounds we may not even be aware of, and to restore our inner peace. Silence, in this sense, becomes a sacred invitation for divine restoration to take place within us. Another way silence creates space for God to move is through prayer. While prayer is often seen as a conversation with God, it is important to remember that it is not solely about speaking, it is also about listening. Many of us are quick to offer our petitions, our requests, or our plans to God, but true prayer also involves a time of silence, waiting in God's presence for His response. In these moments of quiet, we allow God to speak to our hearts, guiding us with clarity, wisdom, and peace. Silence in prayer is where we receive direction, discernment, and strength. It is when we sit in the stillness that we become aware of God's peace that surpasses understanding, a peace that grounds us and prepares us for the journey ahead. In silence, we also allow room for God to work in our circumstances. When we are constantly moving, constantly speaking, constantly planning, it can be easy to forget that God is always at work, even when we cannot see it. Silence, however, invites us to trust in God's providence and timing. In the quiet moments, we allow God to orchestrate events, align opportunities, and move mountains on our behalf, even when we don't fully understand how. Silence allows us to release our need for immediate answers and to trust that God is always working behind the scenes, even when we can't see the bigger picture. In these moments, we surrender our own timing and open ourselves to God's perfect plan for our lives. Moreover, silence is the space where we can hear God's voice of reassurance and love. Life can sometimes be overwhelming, and in these moments of uncertainty, fear, or doubt, we often forget that we are never alone. In silence, God's presence envelops us, reminding us of His constant love and faithfulness. It is in these quiet moments that we are reminded of who we are in Christ, that we are His beloved children, and that we have nothing to fear. Silence creates the space for God to reassure us of His promises and to remind us that He is with us in every moment, guiding us through the storms of life. In a world that constantly demands our attention and energies, silence serves as a vital tool for spiritual growth and transformation. By embracing silence, we create the space for God to speak, to heal, to guide, and to work in our lives. Silence allows us to let go of our own agendas and to invite God into every area of our existence. It is through silence that we open ourselves to the miraculous, to the divine workings of God in our hearts and lives. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it is the sacred space where we make room for God to move and do what only He can do.